Hello everybody, I'm the Introverted Astrologer, and before I go any further, I'd like to level with you on something. As you know, I like to stay impartial and keep my own political opinions out of my videos. But I'll admit I was very apprehensive when I posted my last video on Tommy Robinson. You see, his representation across our media had left me rather concerned about how my video would be received. I was anticipating a bit of a backlash. Good grief, I was absolutely wrong. 99.9% of you were polite, informative. I only had to block one person for a bit of rudeness. And some of you gave me additional information to go away and consider. This was really not what I'd expected. So may I personally thank you for your courtesy. More than anything, it was your civil and intelligent reactions that prompted me to dive deeper. And so I've listened to a variety of viewpoints across social media. I've watched Tommy's film Silenced, and I've read the court papers relating to his current sentence in jail. I do actually have a lot of personal experience around local authorities, our judiciary, and exposing underhanded practice. And so I'm very aware that our system can be corrupt. And when I read those court papers, it was very clear to me that Tommy Robinson needs strong legal representation. I'm not saying this because I support his politics. I'm saying it because I believe there would have been a different outcome if he'd had a solid legal team behind him. And I do also doubt that he'd be in solitary confinement right now if he'd had that quality legal representation. And so it's really in Tommy's best interests for Elon Musk to follow through on his promise of financial assistance towards legal costs. Now, some of you had also pointed out that Tommy Robinson may well be out of prison this summer. And so I've put together a short video on his transits this year, and I've released it on my separate channel, which is called the Introverted Astrologer, TLDR. Too long, didn't read. This channel is for videos that are less than 10 minutes long and for people who don't have much astrology knowledge at all. I'll put the link for that video below the description. Back to today's video now. Some of you had wondered what impact Elon Musk might have on Keir Starmer and the UK government. And so today I'm going to show you how these relationships are being brought to life right now. Now, one of you had asked whether Elon would have much impact on the UK and the current government. I had to rack my brains a bit as to how we might explore that a bit more. And so I decided initially that we'd have a look at the composite chart between Elon Musk and the United Kingdom. I'm not sure that Elon Musk is very popular amongst the UK population. A recent poll suggested not. But anyway, I'm using the Great Britain Union chart and Elon Musk's birth date, and this is symbolic of the energy between them. These charts are most illuminating for assessing the potential of a relationship. But of course, because they're very responsive to transits and progressions, we may be able to establish something about the near future. The UK and Elon have a powerful dynamic playing out across the area of their respective value systems, their resources, how those resources are shared or spent, and we have the square out to Saturn in the 11th house of friendship or alliances. And so having Saturn here in such stress is possibly not very promising. So there could well be very strong differences of opinion leading to argument and upset. This is unlikely to be a conventional or predictable kind of union. It will very likely overturn any traditional models of behaviour or beliefs around resources or personal values. The two entities are likely to pose a great challenge to each other. And certainly with this level of conflictual and threatening energy, it may well prevent anything very fruitful which ends up having longevity or stability. There is some positivity here in terms of trying to work together or to be aware of the need to maintain harmonious links. And it's not as though the two parties cannot have any kind of relationship, but there will be this intense stress across areas of joint and shared resources, and very significant differences of opinion around issues of wealth, values, and perhaps the distribution of that wealth. Now, because composite charts are very sensitive to transits, to progressions, to eclipses even, we can see that this composite sun is in the exact area of an eclipse that we're expecting this March. The eclipse takes place at 9 degrees of Aries on the 29th of March, and it's one which is partially visible in the UK. Might we see this eclipse trigger the expression of something much more energetic between Musk and the UK? Let's wait and see what takes place over March and April. Incidentally, this same eclipse also falls on the descendant of the UK Union chart. This means that the mundane meanings for the 7th house, which are foreign affairs, our relationships with countries abroad, they will become much more prominent during this spring. Because composite charts are also sensitive to transits, we can see that Uranus will certainly pass over the midheaven of this relationship over the next couple of years. So it's public representation, its outward expression, the function it serves is going to certain changes which may be experienced as surprising or upsetting, and we have that element of unpredictability naturally because this is Uranus. I found that the progressed composite chart was so illuminating. This chart is based on the midpoint between each party's progressed planets, and we have some very strong partile aspects in this composite, aspects which are well within a degree of each other. So here are the Sun and Mercury together. They're speaking of this union involving a great deal of communication with each other, of strong mental activity, and of this becoming more pronounced over recent months. But there is also an exact square with Neptune. This communication is being eroded and undermined by Neptune's confusing influences, and so it may not have the clarity or accuracy that would be hoped for. The importance of this relationship is certainly being highlighted too by the fact that this progressed composite sun at around 23.5 degrees of Leo is pulling within a couple of degrees of the static composite ascendant, which we saw in the last slide. In fact, we have a fair bit around this area of Leo because Saturn in the UK's Union chart is also around 23.5 degrees of Leo. And so this progressed Sun and Mercury are now on the Union chart's Saturn. So there is absolutely no doubt that very strong energies are being aroused within all these very complicated interrelationships in composite birth and mundane charts. The Saturn in the Union chart can also be indicative of defensiveness, resistance to change. And so we just have this tense and confused picture overall here. How well will Elon Musk and Keir Starmer get on with each other? Here we have their static composite chart together, and please do take note that we don't have that exact birth time for Keir Starmer still, so I'm using 12 noon for this chart. For that reason, we can't pay attention to the angles or the houses. We certainly haven't got the strength of composite chart that we could see between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. And I think we can see that issues of psychological change, of unpredictability, are woven into this one. Given we don't have Keir Starmer's exact birth time, this composite moon is probably somewhere between, say, 24 degrees of Virgo to one degree of Libra, but certainly that unpredictability and perhaps a touchiness or a hurt are coming into this. And whilst they may be able to act with sensitivity towards each other's position and exchange opinions without coming to blows, these communications may not be realistic or transparent because of that confusing influence brought in by Neptune. I'm sure they will be able to maintain a civil political relationship because we have Saturn bringing in that structure and stability despite the underlying tensions. It doesn't strike me as being a relationship which is going to be particularly close or warm, but I'm sure that it will maintain a civil front and be adequate for the purposes of international diplomacy. Certainly we could say that the two people involved are capable of acting in structured and restrained ways in which both of them are able to learn a great deal about themselves and to appreciate the give and take which is needed to maintain a political relationship. Interestingly, the composite sun of this progressed composite chart is now exactly in the area of Keir Starmer's natal Mercury. This composite sun is opposing the progressed composite Saturn, and so the fact that it's pulling in closer and closer to Saturn is quite threatening. It's suggesting that at this stage the two individuals probably have difficulty understanding each other. They may well be working at cross purposes. It isn't insurmountable, but it's simply telling us that there may be difficulties at this time, and the fact that it is pulling in Keir Starmer's natal Mercury is showing that his thoughts and communications are certainly being activated at this time. The synchronicities that we find across various composite and natal charts at the moment is very typical for how astrology works. Thank you for watching. I think we can see that there is a lot of tension at the moment and that the pot is being thoroughly stirred up through the agency of Elon Musk. Might this be part of a steady trickle of pressure on Keir Starmer's position? I could see things getting very difficult for Keir Starmer as we move further into 2026/27, and the eclipse that we're expecting in late March this year might also well bring additional pressure. I'm currently looking at Elon Musk's year ahead, and I will have that on my TLDR channel very shortly. And until then, do take good care. God bless you and your families.